Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have been enjoying this wonderful event thus far. My name is Caroline Barr, and I'm the founder of Susgain. Susgain is Singapore's new rewards app for you, the planet, and the community. You can download it for free in the app stores. Just search for Susgain, Susgain, and you can also check out our various social media channels. In today's session, let's talk about sustainable living in Singapore. I'd like to focus on some common myths that I've encountered myself when trying to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle, and that I know many of you might be intrigued by as well. And I would also like to right away give you some concrete tips on how you can kickstart your green journey today. If you have any questions or comments throughout the sessions, please do share it in the chat below. Me and my team will be answering your questions throughout the session, and I will be also picking out a few at the end and respond to them. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first myth we will be looking at today is living a sustainable lifestyle in Singapore is expensive and inconvenient. Actually, I could imagine that many of you would have that sentiment. So if you do agree to the statement, please do reply with "yet" in the chat function. The next myth, the impact we have as individuals is so little that it doesn't even make sense to try. Have you ever wondered the same thing? Or is this an argument that you have been confronted with when talking to your friends or family members? If so, do answer with "yes" in the chat. And lastly, products which are recyclable or compostable are always the better option. Let's look into that one too. But back to myth number 1. This actually leads me back to Susgain and the very reason why we have created this app. Let me share a little bit about my background. So over the past decade, me and my family, we have been fortunate enough to stay on 3 different continents, living in Singapore, the US, and Netherlands, and seeing different lifestyles in each of these countries made me and my hubby start questioning how we live. We decided to become more minimalistic and more conscious how much and where we consume and what values we want to pass down to our daughter. When returning to Singapore 4 years ago, we found that living a more conscious lifestyle here in Singapore was actually not that easy. We had, for example, to do some research where to recycle our old batteries, where to buy package-free goods, which food places would accept BYO, meaning to say we bring our own food containers. This was a real inconvenience. We also spoke to a lot of people in our surroundings, such as friends and colleagues, and they all shared the same sentiment. Also, on our personal discovery journey, we found that Singapore actually has a lot of budget-friendly options to offer, be it for food, fashion, household items. And we experienced that, in fact, living a more sustainable lifestyle can be a way of saving money. So here's the problem. Many of the places we have discovered are still unknown to the general public. And this is really what has sparked the idea for Susgain. So Susgain is really a convenient all-in-one app where we have mapped over 1,000 environmentally and socially conscious lifestyle options at your fingertips. What's more, you get rewards for taking better care of yourself, the planet, and the community. Another issue that we wanted to address with the app is that we are in need for some form of sustainability label. As a consumer, it can be fairly confusing and time-consuming to assess social and environmental impact for all of the choices we make on a daily basis. So now let me show you how we did this by giving you a quick walk through the app experience. Okay, so first of all, when you have downloaded the app, you will come to this screen. Here you can choose 1 of 5 local charities, all supporting equally important sustainability missions, ranging from those focusing on waste reduction to humanitarian causes or to reducing air pollution. Next, now you can see a map with a lot of colorful pins. In fact, we have mapped out all of the e-waste recycling points, food bank collection points, reverse vending machines, water refill stations, and so much more. Every time you do a green activity, let's say you're joining a beach cleanup this weekend, you will automatically earn points. The more points you have gathered, the higher your membership tier and rewards. We have also listed over 90 online and offline stores on the app, and when you do a purchase with them, first of all, you will earn cashback for yourself, and secondly, automatically trigger a microdonation to the charity of your choice. So what can you do with the cashback you have earned? Well, you can either spend it at another partnering store, cash it out, or for the greatest impact, we recommend you also donate it to a charity of your choice. Our app is only 4 months old and we are definitely still in our early days. So at the same time, we have thus far onboarded more than 90 merchants and our community is steadily growing. So one of the things that you might be wondering is like, how do we assess or how do we bring those businesses on board? What are the criteria? So we have developed our own sustainability framework, which is based on the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Some of you might be familiar with them. And so what we have done, we have actually broken them down into 8 easy to understand batch categories. We have a category called reduce, reuse, recycle, locally sourced, fair trade, organic, vegan. You can see them here. So before bringing a new business on board, we do a sustainability review with them. A catalog of questions and together identify concrete actions and measures they are taking that would entitle them for the badges. We also ask for proof. In addition, businesses that have to commit to a sustainability pledge, which is a commitment towards further improving their business practices, because we believe we are all on a journey on this and everybody can continue to do more. So when you are browsing through the app and the profiles on the app for the different businesses, you can actually see a little write-up and can identify easily what are their sustainable business practices and the pledges they have committed to. Now, let's move on to our next myth. Actually, I've been asked many times, what do you say to people who are skeptical that they as an individual have an impact at all? So normally the way I answer this question is I give them a couple of examples. And that's what I'm gonna do with you now as well. Let's start with the first one. So actually we are quite fortunate here in Singapore to have drinking water flowing out of our taps. Yet many people will buy water bottles outside when they are on the go. And so by just changing your habit slightly and starting to bring your own reusable bottle, something like I have here, you can actually refill it at many different places. So 60 of them have been already mapped on the app. And you do not only save plastic, but you also save a lot of money. Here another example, which every time again keeps blowing me away. Did you know that the end-to-end production of a regular roll of pulp toilet paper requires approximately 125 liters of water? That's crazy, isn't it? By switching to bamboo toilet paper, and we have listed Bamboo on our app, you can actually reduce the amount to just 12 liters per roll. So for me, this is just such a powerful example how our everyday choices do make a big difference. Are you ready for another one? Let's look at fashion. You might have heard or read about fashion being among the most polluted industries. But that doesn't really mean that we have to stick to our old wardrobe for the rest of our lives. Instead, you can reduce the footprint of your garment by 82% by giving your clothes a second life. How to do that? So we are super fortunate here in Singapore to have a wonderful scene of local thrift and swapping places. So my tip to you is check out Swapaholic, The Fashion Pulpit, and also Refresh, who offer an amazing shopping experience while being good on the planet too. And lastly, Here's an example of how our everyday purchases can also be a way of giving back. We have listed an online bookstore called Thrift on our app. Whenever you're getting a second-hand book from them, 50% of their profits will go to charity. How cool is that? So to make it easier for you to directly see the impact of your actions, we have just last week published a new feature. So you can see with one click what are your green activities that you have been doing over the past month. There's also a leaderboard, so you can check out your position in the Sustain community. And starting from next week, we will be also adding a feature with challenges where you can win amazing prizes for your green actions. Okay, now we are slowly nearing the end of my session, and it's a good time to talk about the myth number 3. Let's make it a bit more interactive again. Can you let me know in the chat, which of these food containers would you typically prefer? I will give you a few seconds to think about it. Very interesting. Actually, not surprisingly, many of you have now commented biodegradable ware. To be honest, this is the standard answer people give. So here is the catch. When we look at more sustainable options, we always have to take into consideration the local context. Some of you might know, in Singapore, we are incinerating our general waste, meaning to say that all of our single-use food packaging will ultimately be burned in a waste-to-energy plant. The problem, Semankau landfill, which is an artificial island where the ashes are shipped to, will be full by 2035. You might be wondering, but why then are we not recycling these food packaging materials? So the reason is that anything that has been in contact with food would be considered contaminated and cannot be recovered. Which brings us to the point of single-use food packaging. While the materials might be biodegradable, our local waste management system does not treat the waste in a way that this would be a benefit. In fact, the resources needed to produce a styrofoam tray are lesser than the ones for biodegradable ware. So don't get me wrong, I'm neither advocating for biodegradable or plastic here. Instead, I strongly believe that we need to move our focus away from the material that items are made into looking into our consumption patterns. Semankau landfill is running out of space by 2035, and we can do all our part in reusing less. So the good news again is that there are many solutions available locally. Have you heard of Bearpack or Muse, some amazing local food container rental services? We have also listed over 200 hawker centers and restaurants on the app that all accept BYO. Also, more and more of our partners are offering refill services of their products or sell them package-free altogether. Coming to the next point, whenever you see products which are compostable, do consider 2 things. Not all items that are sold with a description compostable are actually home compostable. So some of these compostable materials, for example, they require certain conditions in terms of temperature and humidity level to compost. And so another thing you have to always consider is that, do you have the ability to compost them yourself at home? So if any compostable packaging ends up in the general waste, unfortunately, there is not value with it after all. So again, just keep in mind, recyclable doesn't mean it's being recycled, and compostable doesn't necessarily mean home compostable. So the best way we can actually take action is take little steps by being very mindful of what we consume in the first place and what single-use packaging do we need in the first place. So lastly, before we get into the Q&A session, let me leave you with a very positive quote that inspired me, and it's by Anne-Marie Bonneau. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste purposely. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. And on that note, I would like to invite you to get started with little green steps right away. And the Susgain app is here to help you on your green journey. We also have a little gift for you. So when you search for Green Christmas Market on the app, you can enter the pin 2512 and earn your first 200 Susgain points for the event. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's hop into the Q&A sessions now. See you. Hi, everyone. So I've seen that there was a question from Christopher about what kind of merchants do we have on the Susgain app. So we actually cater different types of merchants, and we have different categories, like, for example, grocery household. In this category, we have, for example, a vegan grocer, Solely Green. We have the Bare Essentials, which offer package-free delivery options for groceries. The Whole Kitchen, which really focus on taking all of the ingredients in their production. We are also having, for example, restaurants like Fireless Kitchen, where they are actually advocating for using also BYO. We have a lot of fashion partners. I spoke about Refresh and the Fashion Pulpit and Swapaholic earlier, but there's also a lot of partners we have that are offering, for example, products made out of organic cotton and other ingredients. And services, for example, there's a laundry service for the love of laundry, where you can actually have a more sustainable option to dry clean your clothes. So we have really tried to map as many different lifestyle options on the app so that we can really help you make sustainability a part of your everyday choices. Let me see if there's any other questions. I don't see any here at the moment. Okay, here I see. Do we have any other plans to bring Susgain to other parts of Asia? Yes, definitely. So as you might have, or I think I mentioned this earlier, so Susgain is just 4 months old, so we have just launched it this year. It's definitely our intention to go to other urban areas across Asia and maybe globally at one point. We think the need is very apparent in many places. It's really how can we empower the consumer to take their part and to see that actually their everyday lifestyle choices and consumption choices can make a big difference, and do so in a rewarding, meaningful way, so that it's really like a long-lasting habit change. I see more questions coming in. Can you do this with other types of shops as well? I'm referring, maybe if I'm not mistaken, are you referring to how do we select businesses we bring on board? So somebody says here, like, and so we do have, for example, fashion stores on the app. Generally our criteria to bring a merchant on board is that we do this, as I mentioned earlier, sustainability review and see what are the sustainable best practices, and then we feature this on the app. I see a question, what is a cash for trash point? So actually we have, the Singapore government has rolled out the reverse vending machines in many locations, where you can, for example, take your old PET bottles and you get basically cash or vouchers in return. So we have mapped them on the app. And then there's also other initiatives where actually communities such as Tzu Chi are taking back your recyclables and sometimes even giving you a small fee for it. So there's one, actually, when it comes to like this cash for trash point, one location which I am very passionate about, it's actually from Bread and Butter in Ang Mo Kio. And what they do is that they take back your recyclables like paper, aluminium, and then they will actually, instead of giving you back some cash for those recyclables, they will actually take the proceeds to help underprivileged people or waste collectors and buy snacks and food items for them. So you can also find them on the app if you search for Bread and Butter. Let me see if there's any other questions. Where can I find beach cleanup, etc., that you mentioned on the app? So you can actually go into our volunteering section, and we are always featuring whatever opportunities we have there. So for example, right now, if I'm not mistaken, this afternoon at 4 p.m. there will be a beach cleanup by the Litter Club. They are actually meeting quite regularly, so we are always listing this on the app. And also if we have any other partners who are offering volunteering opportunities, you can find it. So for those who haven't maybe right away found the categories, so there is a search function in the top where it says, I'm looking for. So if you click on it, you can actually see a carousel with different categories, and you can swipe, and then you can get to the volunteering category as well. I think there's no more questions at the moment. So if any other questions come up, do reach out to us. So you can just reach me at caroline@susgain.com. And if you haven't done so, so the app is not in the app stores, just check it out yourself, explore it. Also, as I mentioned, we are quite new, and we are still wanting making it even more relevant for everybody to kickstart their green journey. If you have any ideas of data points we have not yet mapped, please let us know. We're happy to add more water refill stations, recycling points, merchants that you love to shop at, and at the same time also improve our app in many ways. So please share your feedback with us. That's very, very welcome. Okay, if there's no more questions, I think I can already end the session and leave the next let the next lineup come in. Again, any other questions that come up, please just reach out. And was nice seeing you all. Have a good remaining event. Take care and bye-bye.